Can you share a specific example of whether you were aware of it at the time or not? Looking back, can you share a specific example of when a mental performance skill or technique sort of helped you overcome a specific situation, whether it was handling like a high pressure moment in a big game or overcoming a tough loss or dealing with injuries? Thinking back, did you have any mental performance techniques that you used that helped you to overcome any of those things?
Getting a chance to, I guess, be at the college level, I feel like every situation was really crucial because you're always fighting for a spot or fighting to win, and it's more meaningful every practice, every rep, and stuff like that. But athletically, the mental skill that I would say I use most of is relying on my faith to get me through any tough situation. What I mean by that is I always knew skill-wise, physically, I could get things done at my speed, at my strength, just the football aspects of being an athlete. But what I always knew, though, that a lot of people didn't have was a strong mind with their faith. So I would always pray and talk to God about any situation I was going through, usually in private. That's just kind of how I like to keep my faith at most parts of my life. But anything that I was dealing with, so like for instance, I always take it back to potentially not knowing if I was ever going to play in college to having a starting spot on our nickel package by the time I graduated throughout those next 3 years. But my faith and kind of being able to have that connection relationship with God, I think got me through a lot of things that I don't think I would have. Lucky enough, I said earlier, I didn't really have any injuries that ever caused me to have turmoil in my football career, which I'm forever thankful for. That's a blessing. I never really had any major academic issues that caused turmoil that I had to couple back grades with study hall, but never had any issues that caused turmoil. Never really had any major fallouts internally with players or coaches too much that caused turmoil that I had to get through. So a lot of that stuff, I would say my faith and being blessed and having the clear opportunity helped out in that situation. But whenever I did face any challenges, hiccups, learning how to prioritize, learning how to be a man, learning how to mature myself while playing the game of football as an athlete, I always say my best mental skill was using my faith as a shield and using the word of God as a shield to shield my mental. Because I don't think I could take a full load of classes, work a full-time job, be a full-time college athlete. Also, I mentioned lacrosse earlier, but I was also full-time involved in theater. I did a total of 3 shows and directed 1 in college. Ran our radio department. So I was the general manager of our radio station. Had a major and a minor. So it was like those things to me, without the faith and just without my communication or relationship and just having that faith to be able to shield how much and how intense I was going with everything, that to me is what helped out the most. Because I learned no matter what you're going to go through in life, there's going to be tough times, right? But the thing is, tough times don't last. Tough people do. And if I can have the faith and have that relationship, know that God's going to watch over that and protect my mental, why not go through it all? Why not do 8 different things? Why not be in a musical during football season while working a full-time job, while still trying to study, while in a relationship with my girlfriend now, wife at the time? Why not go through all of that and see how it works out? Because if you got God on your side, if my faith is that strong and my mental is that protected and guarded by that, I can go through anything that I want to put myself through. So a lot of people are like, why are you loading your plate so much? Or how are you going to balance it? I was like, what do you mean, how am I going to balance? Everyone always says they want to eat, but when their plate gets full, they always want to back off. Your goal was to eat. You came to college to do whatever. You came to college to have an athletic career. You came to college to get a degree, to make network, to make connections. And all of a sudden, the stuff that you wish for, it fills your plate with surplus amount. You can't be afraid to eat because you got a full plate. That's what you wish for. But the thing is, people don't strengthen their mindset because maybe it's the cracks in their faith. Maybe it's the cracks in what they ingest, or maybe it's other things that traumatize at a younger age. But for me, like I mentioned, from age 4, when I first started realizing how strong football was and how the winning mindset can take you really far. I grew up in a Christian household. I grew up where faith and that practice gave you strength, right? But faith without work is dead. So I always knew that for me, any tough times or any adverse situations, I had the strong mindset to be able to take on literally anything that stood in my way. Was I always successful with everything? No, that's not human nature. But I do know for a fact that was probably my strongest mental skill, was to be able to have a strong mindset going into anything that I wanted to accomplish.
So basically just leaning on your faith. Because you had your faith, you knew that no matter what you were going through, whether you were successful at it or not, which, I mean, it does sound like you were successful at just about everything that you did. Although, as you mentioned, it's unrealistic and not really human nature to be successful at everything that we do. But ultimately, you would say your greatest mental attribute is your faith. You knew that you had your faith, and that would give you the strength to get through whatever it was that you needed to get through.
Exactly.